We're not too bad today, starting off. How are you today? Happy Tuesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking today. The theme for today is to stop efforting. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you a heads up. This is going to defy everything you've been taught about how to be successful and how to achieve your goals. Okay. So get ready to possibly be triggered, get ready to question things, and get ready to also open up to a whole different way of achieving your goals in sales, in business, and life. So let me just take a moment to welcome Fit and Wellness. Good morning. Oh my gosh, Becca, good morning. I haven't seen you in forever. So good to see you. Kalua, good morning. So if you're joining for the first time, we're doing a book study today actually, and we've been diving into, we just started it yesterday, but Think and Grow Rich, which is like such a classic, right? An oldie but a goodie. But it has so many jewels for you in terms of how you can achieve your goals differently. Good morning, Sherry. So good to see you. And so yesterday we kicked off and just talked about you have to know what you want. And I think this is so much of the missing link that I see in sales training and so much business coaching too. And let me know, like, give me a yes or give me a heart if you agree with this or have seen this. Is like, we think, gosh, if we just have the perfect script and follow the perfect template and playlist, then it'll all come into play. But I'm here to tell you 95% of your results in your sales and in your life are based on your subconscious programs and conditions. And so if you've got a belief system running, which most of us do because it's the popular thought that's taught, which is to make more sales, to make more money, you've got to work harder. Well, then it's going to always feel hard. And I don't know about you, but I'm not available anymore in my life for it to feel hard. It doesn't mean that there's not times of contrast. It doesn't mean that there's not times that feel more challenging than others. But in general, I'm not up for life being hard at all, ever anymore. And it's really a matter of deciding how much of life you're willing to let it be easy, and how willing you are to let sales be easy and let business be easy and let making money be easy. So Laura, Michelle, good morning. So give me I get fired up about this. So give me a yes, give me a hell yes, give me an amen if in the comments, if you're actually like, if you check in and you are truly ready for it to be easy, for this whole process to be easier. And let me know too if this triggers you. Oh my gosh, I'm so with you. If part of your upbringing, thank you for the hearts. If part of your upbringing was to get what you want, you've got to work harder and just put in more time and more hours, because that was my programming too. And I did that for many, many years, the majority of my life up until this point, and kept getting just kind of this more of the same. And it always felt hard and it always felt challenging. And so today it's about stopping efforting, and it's about how you're actually going to get more results when you decide that you're just done with it being hard and you're ready. You're no longer available to have your days feel hard, to have your sales feel hard, to have money making feel hard. And you're really, really available to see how easy it can be, how fun it can be, and how much you can allow in. So I just want to welcome Heather. Good morning. Michelle, you're already there. I love that. I love that. Elizabeth, good morning. So I get excited about this. And like I said, this is going to contradict pretty much everything you've been taught about how sales works, how money works, etc. But isn't that everything we talk about here over on these Monday live streams? So I just want to check in with you because it's the last day of August. And is there any part of you that feels like, okay, to hit my goals for this month? And again, whenever you're watching this still applies. But if you're watching in real time, it's the last day of August. And is there any part of you that feels like you're going to have to work really hard today to hit your goals for this month? And just check in with that. Good morning, Heather. And see. And so I think this is a really timely conversation, because that's actually, you're gonna block the flow of sales and clients if you feel like you've got to work really hard today for it. So I want to talk about a different way to do this. And like I mentioned yesterday, we're not reading all of Think and Grow Rich together, because if we did, we would all be 100 years old by the time we were done with this series. But I want to just pull quotes for you that I think we can kind of riff off of. So reading here from the introduction, and he's talking about the secret to creating more money, more wealth, more abundance. And he says a peculiar when I say he, Napoleon Hill, for those of you who haven't read Think and Grow Rich, a peculiar thing about this secret is that those who once acquire it and use it find themselves, now listen to this because this is exciting, they find themselves literally swept onto success with what seems to be little effort, and they never again submit to failure. So that's the only part of the book we're reading today. I want to just read that to you one more time. Those who acquire this secret and learn to live this way find themselves literally swept onto success with what seems to be little effort, and they never again submit to failure. So think about in your life, like give me a yes or give me a heart. Is that exciting to think about being swept onto success? And to me, that's very exciting. As we go deeper into this book, he talks about there's basically two rivers in life. And one is the river that flows, we'll call it downstream because it's more about ease. And that river is the river of success, abundance, wealth, etc. Most people have limiting beliefs that prevent them from hopping into that river. The other one, and the one that most people swim in all day long, is the one that's going upstream. And when you think about going upstream, right, it's swimming against the current. So it's the one that feels hard. It's the river of poverty. It's the river of scarcity. And so what we want to think about here, and this is where we can also, if you're an Abraham Hicks follower or listener, and they talk about, is it a downstream or an upstream thought? We want to think about it. Again, it feels counterintuitive, right? But you want to think about how can you go downstream with what you're doing? How can you get in that flow? Because when you're going downstream, things happen faster, right? They happen easier. There's not as much effort because you're letting the current push you. You're not doing the pushing. You're simply hopping in and letting it push you and flow you towards what you want. Is this making sense? Let me know in the comments if this makes sense. As always, if you have questions, that's my favorite thing, is to have live dialogue with you here about what your questions are. So let's talk about what efforting is and how do you know if you're doing it, okay? So to me, efforting, the way I think about efforting is when you feel like you've got to push really hard to make something happen, okay? It's when you feel like you have to push really hard to make something happen. Now, here's the key with all of this is that there are times when we must do that. Thank you for the hearts. Heather, you said you're feeling aligned with your clients. You just got 2 new clients yesterday. It's getting easier. Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Congratulations. That's beautiful. And the easier you let it be, the more your clients come in too. Like, I want you to really remember that. So let's go back to what we were saying here though. So for any of you who have had a baby and have had we're just going to say I've had a vaginal birth. I'm thinking about my audience. I'm like, can I say this on LinkedIn? We're just going to say it. For any of you who have had a baby and have had that type of birth, a vaginal birth, there is a pushing, okay? Right? Like there is a pushing to get it out. But I want you to think about in the context of that whole pregnancy, which is for many of us like close to 10 months, right? Most of it, you're sitting back and you're letting things happen. Like your body knows what to do, right? You're not freaking out about, is the placenta doing the right thing? And is the blood right? Like you're not in charge of that. Your body is in charge of that. So it's really a lot of sitting back and allowing. Then there is a period of a push, right? Where we summon our energy and we do what we got to do to get it out. But if that whole pregnancy, you were actively thinking about and trying to force what was happening to your child, it wouldn't work. Right? It wouldn't work. It's the same thing with your business process and with your sales process. Okay, I think we're back. Mary, good morning. So good to see you. So it's the same thing. So let me know if that and again, if you haven't physically given birth to a baby, then you know someone who has, or you can imagine that. So but there's this, what is taught in our sales world, in our business world, is that if you want more, you just have to push harder all the time. right? And it's a constant push, hustle, drive, force. And I'm here to tell you, if that's the way you're trying to approach your goals and achieving your revenue goal for the end of this month or through the end of this year, anytime, you're going upstream. You're making it so much harder than it has to be. Let's just see. Okay, Michelle's saying if you've ever canoed in a tidal river, you know exactly how that feels physically. It's the same. And don't you love how nature like always shows us the best way to get what we want? But again, it's conditioning, it's societal that we're taught it's got to be super hard. And how many of you have ever had judgment on yourself because you feel like you've kind of learned this stuff and you've let it be easy. And like Heather, to your point, you're letting it be easier and you're getting more clients, but then you're like, wait, is it supposed to be this easy? And like, I don't want to tell anyone that it's this easy, that the easier I let it be, the more clients I make. Right. So anyway, we have to get really anchored into creating a new belief system for ourselves. And that comes from study, that comes from, showing up to the live streams here, that comes from reading the books that we're reading. Thank you for the hearts. And so how do you know if you're efforting? How do you know if you're efforting too much right now? Okay. Number one, things feel heavy or hard. Like when you think about what you've got to do, it feels heavy. It feels hard. You're starting to go into burnout mode. And if you're there right now, I would love if you shared in the comments, not in like I want to judge you, but like I've been there. I've totally been there, but I'd love to speak to that. Because I think we've all been there. And when we try to run our sales, our business, the way that most of the world teaches us to, it's a fast track to burnout. It's a fast track to it feeling heavy and feeling hard. And so if things feel heavy or hard, that's one way you know. If you think you got to work harder to achieve your goal, if it's like, okay, it's the last day of the month. And one other thing too, I would invite all of us, at least if you run your own business and you have control over your revenue goals, like release your attachment to monthly deadlines. Like you get to set your own dates. And I always, always, always encourage my clients to set your revenue goals based upon what the money's going to do and when you need it by. And so we get really attached to this calendar month, which is understandable, and especially in, corporate world. Like I've been there, I run a company, I get it. But we can also put undue pressure and stress on ourselves. Where we're like, if I don't hit the goal by the 31st, then, and I want to invite you, then what? Then what? What if you hit it tomorrow? What if you hit it tomorrow? Okay. So I wanted to share this conversation today because I work with a lot of clients in the sales world, and it's like end of the month. Oh my gosh, if we're not at goal, what are we going to do? And that pressure puts you way upstream. Okay. So I want you to think about what I would encourage you to do there is really think about the end goal, the end result of what you're looking to achieve. Like, how does that feel? And just live it now. Think about it now, feel it now, and you'll release a ton of the resistance that you're creating for yourself around that calendar deadline. And you'll actually, I bet you'll close a sale or a deal today. Michelle, thank you for that. Feels so much better. Good. So, and then too, like if things feel like a slog, so it's like, if it feels heavy, if it feels hard, if it feels like a slug, that's when you know you're efforting. That is when you know. And we want to have zero judgment on it, but we want to just notice, and we want to be aware that when we're in that state, that you're actually blocking the flow of what you want from coming to you, the money, the clients, et cetera. I want to go back to, and let's just read this quote again from the book. So when you learn the secret, those who acquire it and use it find themselves literally swept onto success with what seems to be little effort, and they never again submit to failure. So remember, little effort, swept onto success. The effort is probably more mental than anything. The effort is noticing when you're thinking a limiting belief, noticing when you're going into scarcity, noticing when you're going into old patterns, and then stopping it and readjusting. That's, if there was any amount of effort, it's really more the mental. Laura's saying, how do you get back in the flow? Beautiful question. The first thing I would do is focus your attention on something that feels lighter. Like perfect example, this weekend, we've got we got a lot going on in our household right now. My husband's taking his MCAT in 2 days. We're putting our house on the market tomorrow. I've got all my business stuff, got like all of it. And so I found myself, what day was it? I think it was Sunday, feeling like things were feeling a little heavy. It was like, ooh, and I noticed that my thoughts about things and thoughts about what we're doing were also, as things felt heavy, the thoughts were like, boom, boom, boom. So once you get aware of this stuff, you know it, right? When it happens. And so one of the best things you can do, Laura, in that instance is like get out of the environment you're in right now. Put it down. So remember, when it feels heavy, you want to set it down. When it feels light, pick it back up. But when it feels heavy, the best thing you can do for yourself is set it down, go somewhere. Like I went for a drive. I went and donated a bunch of stuff for our move, and just like took my son like driving around. I really took me driving around, and Jack didn't have a choice. But I was like, oh, of course Jack wants a car ride right now because mom really needs a car ride. And so we just drove around. We dropped some stuff off. We got flowers. We got some food for Jason and then came back, and it was like, oh, the weight had lifted. It felt so much easier. And then I actually was able to go back in to some of the business things I was working on, and it felt a million times better. And when you're in that state, and I know, Laura, knowing you, I know that you know what that's like too. When you're in that higher vibration where you're not efforting, but you're allowing the ideas flow, the inspiration flows, you get things done 100 times faster. And so that's so that's what I would break your state, put it down, get away from it. And then focus on something you enjoy. Focus on something that makes you feel good. Maybe it's going for a drive. Maybe it's going for a walk and appreciating nature. And if your brain tries to take you back to that thing that's feeling heavy, it's like, I'm going to think about something else. Okay. Don't try to, the energy and the vibration of a problem is different from the energy and the vibration of a solution. So if you keep trying to go back to that thing that feels heavy and has you feeling out of the flow from that energy of the problem, it's not going to work. Does that make sense? So you want to just step away from it. That's not the time to try to problem solve. That's not the time to try to find a solution. You want to go get yourself in a state that feels better, that feels more empowered. And then from that state, then when you're not thinking about it, it actually gives thank you for the hearts. It gives your brain, like your subconscious mind is working on this stuff for you all the time. You have to know, it's just when we get ourselves out of the flow, then it's like we block the ideas from coming in. So when you're in that better feeling state, then the idea will pop in. Then it'll be like, oh, do this or do that. And then you take action from that place, right? We take action from that place. So Laura, to that, I hope that helps answer the question about how do you get back in the flow, but that's how you do it. And you just become aware of this stuff. You just become aware. And once you've been in the flow, you know it when you're not, and it doesn't feel good. So you course correct faster. So put it down sooner. If it starts feeling heavy or hard, if you start noticing you're efforting, step away, go do something that feels enjoyable. Then think about what would be a great question I would invite each of you to ask is, for whatever your sales or your business goal is, for the end of this month or for September, like think about September, right? Whatever it is, what would be the most pleasurable way to get there? What would be the most pleasurable way to get there? And I actually asked myself this question this morning because I've got a revenue goal that I'm working on right now. And it was like, what would be the most enjoyable, fun way to create that money? What would be the most enjoyable, fun way to achieve that revenue goal? And just start thinking about what would be pleasurable, what would be fun, what would feel like. I think about working with clients and what lights me up and what's the most enjoyable way right now that I'm loving working with clients and for me right now, like I'm loving one-on-one stuff. And so it was like, do more of that and enjoy that. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. But you can ask yourself, what's that most pleasurable way to do it? So Laura's saying, thank you, feeling like this with weight loss lately. Great. So great point. Yeah. And think about it too. Like weight release, like weight loss, you'll actually, if you think about it that way, because the word loss with anything, your brain, like we don't want to lose stuff, right? We want to hold on to it. So I would probably never say weight loss again. I would say weight release, and just think about what would it be like to release this, and then appreciating your body. Like, and this applies to everything, right? So it's actually a great question for you to be asking, Laura, like appreciate what is, you know, because I've had quite a body journey as well. Like I'm with you if that's part of what you're working on right now. And we've got to learn to really appreciate what is, and then think about it like a release as well, rather than a loss. And you'll find that you probably have way less resistance around it when you do it. So, and focus on perfect health as well when you're doing your affirmations. Um, okay, I think that's it for today, friends. Are we good? Do we have any follow-up questions? Kalu saying break a leg, Jason. Oh, thank you. He's going to do so great. We're so proud of him. Laura saying love that. Good, good, good. Yes, it's more empowering, right, to think about it that way. All right, my loves. Well, that is it for you today. Tomorrow, what are we talking about tomorrow? I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's good. I know it's good, and I know it's one of the mindsets here from Think and Grow Rich. So, as always, please DM me if you have questions on this. I've got a couple new keynotes that are just about ready to roll. One around selling, one around superhuman selling, one around abundant selling. And so, if you're planning events, virtual or live, for your sales team through the end of the year or through early next year, send me a DM. I'd love to talk with you about coming in and sharing this message. And I'm just grateful for each of you, sending you a bunch of love and wishing you a beautiful, beautiful rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.